Alright, what up guys, Andre and Crossbow, it's Mark here, and today is Thursday the 20th. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the travel ban on both Chinese and expats that are living in China that's going to be traveling overseas. So there's a lot of countries that are putting into the ban now and stopping guys from traveling overseas. So we're going to cover that in more detail today. Alright, so let's check the scoreboard for today. 16,289 have recovered, and versus 2,122 that didn't make it. So that's up 115 cases from yesterday. But overall, it seems to be getting lower, because overall total amount now is only 74,677, which is plus around 399 from yesterday. So actually in the last couple of days it's definitely going down. So at least according to these numbers, it's going down. So the good news, maybe there's like we said before, maybe it is working. Or they also said that they expected the peak of the virus to reach its peak around the middle of the month. So the middle to the end of the month is when that two weeks incubation period is up. So most guys, or if they already have it now, they should be showing some symptoms, and then if they didn't have it, they're letting people go. So we don't know if that's all the case. Like we said, there's a lot of other factors involved, but with the quarantine, everyone's in strict lockdown, then for sure the numbers should be going down. But on the flip side, other things happening now is that if it is going down, obviously the stringent methods aren't. The methods are still in place, and if anything, there's getting more and more stricter. So they just released a list of the countries that are putting travel ban now onto China, because obviously now the overseas is still relatively, I think it's the infection rate is still pretty low. But as they said before, that now it's already spread out. So if something's already in other countries, it's not like just stopped at the border. It's already maybe inside somewhere. So you could see examples like that in Japan, for example, with that cruise ship that was just parked there. There's this one guy infected like hundreds of people now. So then them guys, some of them have been released back into Gen Pop, and they're back into the streets now. They've been cleared. So maybe some of them guys already have it or not. So obviously countries are really more stricter on the tracking of people. So basically in many of the countries now, they've either had a complete ban on Chinese passport holders, or they say that you actually have to be in a quarantine, in a self-quarantine in a different country before you land there. Or some other countries were saying that if you're a national of that country, you're allowed to go in. But many countries have stopped people from traveling. Here's a list of all the countries that have put travel bans on Chinese or people traveling from China. So we have Antigua and Barbuda. So it's some island place. We've got Armenia. These smaller countries, they just said actually they've stopped people at they actually stopped people giving visas. They're not even allowing Chinese in there. Australians, they've also stopped Chinese from coming there. Also, unless you're a national from Australia, then they'll let you in, but you need to be like 14-day quarantine yourself. Azerbaijan, they just said nope, you're out. Bahamas, no passengers from China in the last 20 days, they're out. Bahrain, 14 days. If you've been in China in the last 14 days, you're not allowed in. Bangladesh, they said you just got to have a health clearance. Belize, I believe it is, they just said that they're not allowed to enter. If you've been in China for the last 14 days, not allowed to enter. Bermuda, same thing, not allowed entering. Taiwan, passengers are not from China are not allowed in the last 14 days. They're not allowed in. Comoros Island, I don't know where that is, but they've also said that you must be 14 days quarantine if you do come into the country. And Cook Islands, same thing. If you're not allowed into the country for Cook Islands. If you've been in China for the last 14 days, you've got El Salvador, not allowed. Fiji, out, not allowed in. French Polynesia, they're not going to allow you in unless you have a medical certificate, a health check there. Grenada, Chinese nationals not allowed. And also people that have been in China not allowed. Guatemala, if you've been in China for the last 15 days, you're not allowed. Hong Kong is stopping everybody from the Hubei province. I think if you're some guys from local Hong Kong, you can get back in. Passengers arriving from China or have been in China in the past 14 days are subject to quarantine. India, same. They're not issuing any visas anymore to Chinese, at least for these days. Indonesia, passenger and airline crew cannot be in, if they've been in China in the last 14 days, they're not allowed to enter or transit. Iran, you need a special medical check to get in there as well. Iraq, they're not allowing Chinese in there or anyone that's been in China for the last 14 days. Israel, same, not allowed in 14 days. Jamaica, same, minimum 14 days quarantine. Japan itself has got its own issues to deal with now. So Japan also, they're not allowing anyone that's been in China for the last 14 days. Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kiribati, same. Korea, both North and South Korea. Kosovo, they're not allowing. Kuwait, okay. Macau was really shut down really tight for the last for these how many weeks. They sort of relaxed a little bit, but they're also saying that anyone that's been in the Hubei province is 14 days, they're not allowed in Macau. But other parts of China, they're still allowed to come in. Madagascar, they're out. Malaysia, the Maldives, Marshall Islands, Mauritius, all these island places. Micronesia. If you've all been in China, you're not allowed to go to any of these island places, which is understandable because they're a really small island. I think that if they get anything, it's over for them. Mongolia is actually, I thought Mongolia was in China, but they said that passengers who reside or have been in China are not allowed to transit or enter Mongolia. Myanmar, again, same, not allowed. Visitors, and New Zealand visitors who have transitioned through or been in China or through the last since February 2nd are not allowed to transit into or enter New Zealand. Then you've got other small islands, I think that's how you say it, Palau, Papua New Guinea, all the same, they're all blocked. Paraguay. Philippines, they said that if you transition through Hong Kong or China, then in the last 14 days, then you're not allowed in. Same with the Russian Federation, they're not allowing Chinese Federation in. Samoa, the same. Singapore, same. Singapore said if you're Chinese in the last 14 days, you're not allowed in. Solomon Islands, Somalia, St. Lucia, Sri Lanka, Tonga, Trinidad, all no-goes. And then back to the USA. What did the USA say? Same. If you're visiting or been in China for the last 14 days, you're not allowed in. If you are American, then you can fly back to the US, but then you have to land in specific airports. Other islands, Vanuatu, they said no go. Vietnam, the same. So pretty much the story is that seems like most countries already have a 14-day travel ban. If you've been in China for the last 14 days, they're not letting you back in, or they're not letting you into other countries, unless you are a resident. If you're a national resident of that country, then most of them are saying that you actually can go back and you need to be self-quarantined for 14 days. Obviously, like these small islands, they're really different countries. You need to check. You guys got to check with your own embassy, or your own country, to see the travel bans. But like I said before, it's like, why? In this case now, like the situation is like, why would you like if you were lucky to get out at that before that, the 28th or something, or that time, or 27th, when it was first announced, somewhere you could just fly out and then you had no worries, and then that was cool because you just missed out, you know, you just missed the brunt of the thing. But now that this thing is in full force, like some guys have already like traveling, a lot of the English teachers or something, maybe some guys going to Thailand or something to just to chill out, or like, what's the point to go into another place now? I don't see that point. Is like, I'm not going to go to the airport, I'm not going to go to the trouble spots is where you can actually catch the virus, is where all the people are traveling, airports and train stations, that's where all the thing is. So like, and then just give yourself some more trouble. You try to go overseas now, even if I want to get out, then I'll get stopped at the border, I'll get some trouble at the border, or if you go back to your own country, you got to quarantine yourself anyway. And to me, well, I think everybody's different. So if somebody's in their situation now, is like, just stay put. So I don't think that actually, like, to travel now is like probably a bad idea, or to go somewhere. If you don't mind getting stuck in quarantine, then go for it. Or also, if you like to travel now, if you can get to some places, they've got some really good, I heard there's a lot of really good discounts going on. A lot of hotels, a lot of places that really cheap. You can grab yourself a great deal on a holiday package, because no one's flying anywhere. The travel and tourism industry is wiped out. So like, if you want a good deal and travel somewhere and you're not scared of the virus, maybe this is a good time to go.